Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books, right here in the live studios in Wisteria College at Hode Farm, halfway in between Canterbury and Folkestone. I have with me two exalted spiritual seekers, advanced devotees, Abhaya Prabhu and Radharaman Prabhu. And Priyakund is taking rest early because we have to leave at 4 o'clock in the morning to drive 4 hours to a doctor appointment. And there were some technical difficulties, and we're a little late tonight. Please don't mind. Forgive us for that. But with all that under our belt, we're going to launch into the 10th canto, deeper into the 10th canto. But before we do, let us hear together Srila Sanatana Goswami's glorification of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. A wonderful meditation, the most beautiful glorification of the Bhagavatam I've ever heard, from the Sri Krishna Lila Stava. And it goes like this: Srimad-Bhagavata Mahima Stotram Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kalidvanduditaditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life, heir of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madekabando matsangin madguro man mahadana mannishtadaka madbhagya madananda namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadhutadayin adini chuchatakara hanamuncha gadachin mam premna rit kantayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, you may remember yesterday Aniruddha was swept away by a girlfriend of the daughter of Banasura, and they got together. And Banasura, when he found out, he was very upset. Now we're going to hear what happens next, because Lord Krishna is going to come and save the day, as he usually does with every one of us in every circumstance. Chapter 63. Lord Krishna fights with Banasura. This chapter describes the battle between Lord Krishna and Lord Shiva, as well as Shiva's glorification of Krishna after the Lord had cut off Banasura's arms. When Aniruddha did not return from Shonitapur, his family and friends passed the 4 months of the rainy season in extreme distress. When they finally heard from Narada Muni how Aniruddha had been captured, a large army of the best Yadava warriors under Krishna's protection set off for Banasura's capital and laid siege to it. Banasura fiercely opposed them with his own army of equal size. To help Banasura, Lord Shiva, accompanied by Kartikeya and a horde of mystic sages, took up arms against Balaram and Krishna. Bana began fighting against Satyaki, and Bana's son fought against Samba. All the demigods assembled in the sky to witness the battle. With his arrows, Lord Krishna harassed the followers of Lord Shiva, and by putting Lord Shiva in a state of confusion, he was able to destroy Banasura's army. Is that someone else outside? Oh, it said. Hare Krishna Bhakta said. Hare Bol, how nice to see you. Hare Krishna Bhakta, Alex. Hare Krishna, Brother Hari. Hare Krishna Shaman, Gauri. Well, now we have a full house and we're all safe, protected by the association of the Vaishnavas. To help Banasura, Lord Shiva, accompanied by Kartikeya and a horde of mystic sages, took up arms against Balaram and Krishna. Bana began fighting against Satyaki, and Bana's son fought against Samba. All the demigods assembled in the sky to witness the battle. With his arrows, Lord Krishna harassed the followers of Lord Shiva, and by putting Lord Shiva into a state of confusion, he was able to destroy Banasura's army. Kartikeya was so strongly beaten by Pradyumna that he fled the battlefield, while the remnants of Banasura's army, harried by the blows of Lord Balaram's club, scattered in all directions. Enraged to see his army's destruction, Banasura rushed Krishna to attack him. But the Lord immediately killed Bana's chariot driver and broke his chariot and bow, and then he sounded his Panchajanya conch shell. Next, Banasura's mother, trying to save her son, appeared naked in front of Lord Krishna, who averted his face to avoid looking at her. Seeing his chance, Bana fled into a city. After Lord Krishna had thoroughly defeated the ghosts and hobgoblins, fighting under Lord Shiva, the Shiva Jwara weapon, a personification of fever, with 3 heads and 3 legs, approached Lord Krishna to fight him. Seeing the Shiva Jwara, Krishna released his Vishnu Jwara. The Shiva Jwara was overwhelmed by the Vishnu Jwara. Having nowhere else to turn for shelter, the Shiva Jwara began to address Lord Krishna, glorifying him and asking for mercy. Lord Krishna was pleased with the Shiva Jwara, and after the Lord had promised him freedom from fear, the Shiva Jwara bowed down to him and departed. Next, Banasura returned and attacked Lord Sri Krishna again, wielding all kinds of weapons in his 1,000 hands. But Lord Krishna took his Sudarshan disc and began cutting off all the demons' arms. Lord Shiva approached Krishna to pray for Banasura's life, and when the Lord agreed to spare him, he spoke as follows to Shiva. Banasura does not deserve to die, since he was born in the family of Prahlad Maharaj. I have severed all but 4 of Bana's arms, just to destroy his false pride. And I have annihilated his army because they were a burden to the earth. Henceforward, he will be free from old age and death, and remaining fearless in all circumstances, he will be one of your principal attendants. Assured he had nothing to fear, Banasura then offered his obeisances to Lord Krishna and had Usha and Aniruddha seated on their wedding chariot and brought before the Lord. Krishna then set off for Dwarka, with Aniruddha and his bride leading the procession. When the newlyweds arrived at the Lord's capital, they were honored by the citizens, the Lord's relatives, and the Brahmanas. That's just the summary. Okay, now let's hear the verses. I'm sure we'll hear more details. Text 1. Shukadev Goswami said, O descendant of Bharat, the relatives of Aniruddha, not seeing him return, continued to lament as the 4 rainy months passed. 4 months he was gone. Text 2. After hearing from Narada the news of Aniruddha's deeds and his capture, the Vrishnis, who worshipped Lord Krishna as their personal deity, went to Shunadipur. With Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna in the lead, the chiefs of the Satvaka clan, Pradyumna, Satyaki, Gada, Samba, Sarana, Nanda, Upananda, Bhadra, and others, converged with an army of 12 divisions and laid siege to Banasura's capital, completely surrounding the city on all sides. Text 5. Banasura became filled with rage upon seeing them destroy his city's suburban gardens, ramparts, watchtowers, and gateways. And thus he went out to confront them with an army of equal size. Text 6. Lord Rudra, accompanied by his son Kartikeya and the Pramatas, came riding on Nandi, his bull carrier, to fight Balaram and Krishna on Bana's behalf. This is quite unusual. Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami states that the word Bhagavan is used here to indicate that Lord Shiva is by nature all-knowing and thus well aware of Lord Krishna's greatness. Still, although Shiva knew Lord Krishna would defeat him, he joined the battle against him to demonstrate the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states that Lord Shiva entered the battle for 2 reasons. First, to increase Lord Krishna's pleasure and enthusiasm, and second, to demonstrate that the Lord's incarnation as Krishna, although enacting human-like pastimes, is superior to other avatars, such as Lord Ramachandra. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti further states in this regard that Yogamaya, Lord Krishna's internal potency, bewildered Lord Shiva just as she had bewildered Brahma. In support of this statement, the Acharya cites the phrase Brahma Rudradi Mohanam from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Of course, Yogamaya's job is to make fine arrangements for the Lord pastimes. And thus Shiva became enthusiastic to battle the Supreme Lord Krishna. Text 7. A most astonishing, tumultuous and hair-raising battle then commenced, with Lord Krishna matched against Lord Shankara and Pradyumna against Kartikeya. Text 8. Lord Balaram fought with Kumbhanda and Kupakarna, Samba with Bana's son, and Satyaki with Bana. Text 9. Brahma and the other ruling demigods, along with Siddhas, Charanas, and great sages, as well as Gandharvas, Apsaras, Yakshas, and Yakshas, all came in their celestial airplanes to watch. Something like some kind of football game or something, you know. With sharp pointed arrows discharged from his bow Sharanga, Lord Krishna drove away the various followers of Lord Shiva, Bhutas, Pramatas, Guyakas, Dakinis, Yatudanas, Vitalas, Vinayakshas, Pretas, Matas, Pishachas, Kushamandas, and Brahma Rakshasas. Text 12. Lord Shiva, wielder of the trident, shot various weapons at Lord Krishna, wielder of Shanga. But Lord Krishna was not in the least perplexed. He neutralized all these weapons with appropriate counter-weapons. Text 13. Lord Krishna counteracted a Brahmastra with another Brahmastra, a wind weapon with a mountain weapon, a fire weapon with a rain weapon, and Lord Shiva's personal Pashupatastra weapon with his own personal weapon, the Narayanastra. Text 14. After bewildering Lord Shiva by making him yawn with a yawning weapon, Lord Krishna proceeded to strike down Banasura's army with his sword, club, and arrows. Kind of made Shiva go to sleep. Text 15. Lord Kartikeya was distressed by the flood of Pradyumna's arrows raining down from all sides, and thus he fled the battlefield on his peacock as blood poured from his limbs. 16. Kumbhanda and Kupakarna, tormented by Lord Balaram's club, fell down dead. When the soldiers of these two demons saw that their leaders had been killed, they scattered in all directions. 17. Banasura was furious to see his entire military force being torn apart. Leaving his fight with Satyaki, he charged across the battlefield on his chariot and attacked Lord Krishna. 18. Excited to a frenzy by the fighting, Bana simultaneously pulled taut all the strings of his 500 bows and fixed 2 arrows on each string. 1,000 arms, 500 bows. Lord Sri Hari split every one of Banasura's arrows simultaneously, just in case you couldn't accept that he's God. Lord Sri Hari split every one of Banasura's arrows simultaneously and also struck down his chariot driver, chariot, and horses. The Lord then sounded his conch shell. Text 20. Just then, Banasura's mother, Kotara, desiring to save her son's life, appeared before Lord Krishna naked and with their hair undone. What a mother won't do for her son. Text 21. Lord Gadagraja turned his face away to avoid seeing the naked woman. And Banasura, deprived of his chariot, his bow shattered, took the opportunity to flee into a city. 22. After Lord Shiva's followers had been driven away, the Shivajwara, who had 3 heads and 3 feet, pressed forward to attack Lord Krishna. As the Shivajwara approached, he seemed to burn everything in the 10 directions. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti quotes the following description of the Shivajwara. Jwarash tri padas trishira shadbhujo navalochanaham basma praharano raudra kalantakas yamopamaha. The terrible Shivajwara had 3 legs, 3 heads, 6 arms, and 9 eyes. Showering ashes, he appeared equal to time, death, and Yamaraj. This is better than the Three Rings movie, right? 23. Seeing this personified weapon approach, Lord Narayana then released his own personified fever weapon, the Jwara, Vishnu Jwara. The Shiva Jwara and Vishnu Jwara thus battled each other. 24. The Shiva Jwara, overwhelmed by the strength of the Vishnu Jwara, cried out in pain, but finding no refuge, the frightened Shiva Jwara approached Lord Krishna, the master of the senses, hoping to attain his shelter. Thus, with joined palms, he began to praise the Lord. So whenever we get in trouble, we got a high fever, or a feverish mind, or whatever it is we have that's bothering us, we should pray to Lord Krishna and go to Lord Krishna rather than wallowing in our own problems. Purport. As pointed out by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, it is significant that the Shiva Jwara had to leave the side of his master, Lord Shiva, and directly take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Further evidence, and this is why Lord Shiva joined the battle, to prove that Lord Krishna is the Supreme. Text 25. The Shiva Jwara said, I bow down to you of unlimited potencies, the Supreme Lord, the Super Soul of all beings. You possess pure and complete consciousness and are the cause of cosmic creation, maintenance, and dissolution. Perfectly peaceful, you are the absolute truth, to whom the Vedas indirectly refer. Purport. Previously, the Shiva Jwara felt himself to be unlimitedly powerful, and thus attempted to burn Sri Krishna. But now he himself has been burned, and understanding that Sri Krishna is the Supreme Lord, he humbly approaches to bow down and offer praise to the Absolute Truth. According to the Acharyas, the word Sarvatmanam indicates that Lord Sri Krishna is the Super Soul, the giver of consciousness to all living beings. Krishna confirms this in the Bhagavad Gita 15:15. Matak smritir jnanam apoanam cha. From me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Can't even forget Krishna without him. The words Kevalam Gyapti Matram indicate that Lord Krishna possesses pure omniscience. According to our limited understanding, we act in this world, but Lord Krishna, with his unlimited understanding, performs infinite works of creation, maintenance, and annihilation. As Srila Jiva Goswami points out, even the functions of the gross elements, such as air, depend on him. The Taittiriya Upanishad 281 confirms this. Bishashmad vatak bhavate. Out of fear of him, the wind blows. Thus, Lord Sri Krishna is the ultimate object of worship for all living beings. Text 26. Time, fate, karma, the jiva and his propensities, the subtle material elements, the material body, the life air, false ego, the various senses, and the totality of these as reflected in the living being's subtle body. All these constitute your material, illusory energy, Maya, an endless cycle like that of seed and plant. I take shelter of you, the negation of this Maya. This is the Shiva Jwara offering prayers to Krishna. And listen to this point. The subtle material elements, the material body, the life air, false ego, the various senses, and the totality of these as reflected in the living being's subtle body. That means that the mind is very powerful. There are verses that describe the mind to be like a treacherous monster that's always trying to destroy us, eat us alive. So now we have the answer. Run and take shelter of Krishna in trying to figure it ourselves. Purport. The word bija roha pravaha is explained as follows. The conditioned soul accepts a material body with which he attempts to enjoy the material world. That body is the seed, bija, of future material existence. Because when a person acts with that body, he creates further reactions, karma, which grow, roha, into the obligation to accept another material body. In other words, material life is a chain of actions and reactions. The simple decision to surrender to the Supreme Lord releases the conditioned soul from this futile repetition of material growth and reaction. Daivyesh gunamayi mama maya durajaya mameva ye prabhadyante mayam etam tarantite. It's impossible to overcome the material energy. Only if we surrender to Krishna, and then we can very easily do it. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, the words tan nishidam prapadye indicate that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, is nishidavati bhutam, the limit of negation. In other words, after all illusion is negated, the absolute truth remains. The process of education may be succinctly described as a way of eradicating ignorance through the attainment of knowledge. Through inductive, deductive, and intuitive means, we attempt to refute the spacious, the illusory, and the imperfect, and elevate ourselves to a platform of full knowledge. Ultimately, when the illusion is negated, that which remains firmly in place is the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the previous text, the Shivajwara described the Supreme Lord as Sarvatmanam Kevalam Gyapti Matram, pure, concentrated, spiritual consciousness. Now the Shivajwara concludes his philosophical description of the Lord by saying in this text that the various aspects of material existence are also potencies of the Supreme Lord. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti explains that although the jiva is different from Maya, here it is included among the constituents of Maya because it is controlled by Maya. Vishwanath Chakravarti also mentions that the Supreme Lord's own body and the Lord's pure spiritual existence. I'll read that again. Vishwanath Chakravarti also mentions that the Supreme Lord's own body and senses, as implied here by the word tan nishedam, are non-different from the Lord's pure spiritual existence. The Lord's body and senses are not external to Him, nor do they cover Him, but rather the Lord is identical with His spiritual form and senses. The full absolute truth, unlimited in fascinating diversity, is Lord Sri Krishna. Text 27. With various intentions, you perform pastimes to maintain the demigods, the saintly persons, and the codes of religion for this world. By these pastimes, you also kill those who stray from the right path and live by violence. Indeed, your excuse me. This is too nice. Indeed, your present incarnation is meant to relieve the earth's burden. Purport. As Lord Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita 9:29, Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshosti na priyaha ye bhajanti tumam bhakja maite teshu chapyaham. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. The demigods and sages, Devan, Sadhun, are dedicated to executing the will of the Supreme Lord. The demigods act as cosmic administrators, and the sages, by their teachings and their good example, illumine the path of self-realization and holiness. But those who transgress the natural law, the law of God, and live by committing violence against others, are vanquished by the Supreme Lord in His various pastime incarnations. As the Lord states in the Bhagavad Gita 4:11, Yeyatam mam prapadyante tangs tataiva bhajamyaham. He is impartial, but He responds appropriately to the actions of the living beings. Text 28. I am tortured by the fierce power of your terrible fever weapon, which is cold yet burning. All embodied souls must suffer as long as they remain bound to material ambitions and thus averse to serving your lotus feet. Purport. In the previous verse, the Shivajwara stated that those who live by violence will suffer similar violence at the hands of the Lord. But here he further states that those who do not surrender to the Supreme Lord are especially liable to punishment. Although the Shivajwara himself had acted violently up till now, since he has surrendered to the Lord and rectified himself, he hopes to receive the Lord's mercy. In other words, he has now become the Lord's devotee. Shivajwara has become the Lord's devotee. That's far out. No? Text 29. The Supreme Lord said, O three-headed one, I am pleased with you. May your fear of my fever weapon be dispelled. And may whoever remembers our conversation here have no reason to fear you. Purport. Here the Lord accepts the Shivajwara as his devotee and gives him his first order. That he should never frighten by hot fever those who faithfully hear the pastimes of the Lord. Haribo. Finished. Abhaya. Text 30. Thus addressed, the Maheshwara Jwara bowed down to the infallible Lord and went away. But Banasura then appeared. Oh, we thought that was over. This is not just starting. But Banasura then appeared, riding forth on his chariot to fight Lord Krishna. Text 31. Carrying numerous weapons in his 1,000 hands, O king, the terribly infuriated demon shot many arrows at Lord Krishna, the carrier of the disc weapon. Text 32. As Bana continued hurling weapons at him, the Supreme Lord began using his razor-sharp chakra to cut off Banasura's arms, as if they were tree branches. A little tree trimming going on over here. Text 33. In a tree trimmer. Lord Shiva felt compassion for his devotee, Banasura, whose arms were being cut off, and thus he approached Lord Chakrayuda. Chakrayuda. Now there's a nice name. Chakrayuda, Krishna, and spoke to him as follows. Text 34. Shri Rudra said, you alone are the absolute truth, the supreme light, the mystery hidden within the verbal manifestation of the Absolute. Those whose hearts are spotless can see you, for you are uncontaminated like the sky. Purport. The Absolute Truth is the source of all light and is therefore the supreme light, self-luminous. This Absolute Truth is explained confidentially in the Vedas and is therefore difficult for an ordinary reader to understand. The following statements quoted by Srila Jiva Goswami from the Gopal Tapani Upanishad show how the Vedic sounds occasionally reveal the Absolute. Cheho chur upasanam etasya padatmano govindasya kilat dadanino bruhi. Purvakanda. Gopal Tapani Upanishad. Purvakanda 17. Quote, they, the four Kumaras, said to Brahma, please tell us how to worship Govinda, the Supreme Soul, and the foundation of all that exists. Chaitanas Chaitananam, Purvakanda. 21. He is the chief of all living beings. And Tam Ha Devam Atmavriti Prakasham. Purvakanda 23. That's all out of the Gopal Tapani Upanishad. One realizes that Supreme Godhead by first realizing one's own self. The great Acharya Jiva Goswami also quotes a verse from the Srimad-Bhagavatam 7.10.48, Gudham Padam Brahma Manushya Lingam, which refers to the supreme truth concealed in a human-like form. Since the Lord is pure, why do some people perceive Lord Krishna's form and activity? Shall I repeat that question? Is it okay? Since the Lord is pure, why do some people perceive Krishna's form and activities as impure? Acharya Jiva explains that those whose hearts are impure cannot understand the pure Lord. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti further quotes the Lord's own instruction to Arjuna in Sri Harivangsha. Tat padam padamam brahmam sarvam vibhajate jagat mamaiva tat ganam tejo gyatum arhasi bharata. Superior to that total material nature is the supreme Brahman, from which this entire creation expands. O descendant of Bharat, you should know that the supreme Brahman consists of my concentrated effulgence. Thus, to save his devotee, Shiva now glorifies the Supreme Lord Krishna, his eternal, worshipable Master. The Lord's bewildering potency induced Shiva to fight with Lord Krishna, but now the fight is over. And to save his devotee, Lord Shiva offers these beautiful prayers. 35 and 36. The sky is your navel, fire your face, water your semen, and heaven your head. The cardinal directions are your sense of hearing, herbal plants, the hairs on your body, and water-bearing clouds, the hair on your head. The earth is your foot, the moon your mind, and the sun your vision, while I am your ego. The ocean is your abdomen, Indra your arm, Lord Brahma your intelligence, the progenitor of mankind your genitals, and religion your heart. You are indeed the original Purusha, creator of the worlds. Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami explains that just as the tiny bugs living inside a fruit cannot comprehend the fruit, so we tiny living beings cannot understand the Supreme Absolute Truth in whom we exist. It is difficult to understand the cosmic manifestation of the Lord, what to speak of his transcendental form as Sri Krishna. Therefore, we should surrender in Krishna consciousness, and the Lord himself will help us understand. Text 37. Your current descent into the material realm, O Lord of unrestricted power, is meant for upholding the principles of justice and benefiting the entire universe. We demigods, each depending on your grace and authority, develop the 7 planetary systems. Purport. As Lord Shiva glorifies Lord Krishna, doubt may arise, since apparently Lord Krishna is standing before Lord Shiva as a historical personality with a human-like body. However, it is out of the Lord's causeless mercy that he appears to us in a form visible to our mundane eyes. If we want to understand the absolute truth, Sri Krishna, we must hear from recognized authorities in Krishna consciousness, such as Lord Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita, or from Lord Shiva, a recognized Vaishnava authority, who here glorifies the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 38. You are the original person, one without a second, transcendental and self-manifesting. Uncaused, you are the cause of all, and you are the ultimate controller. You are nonetheless perceived in terms of the transformations of matter effected by your illusory energy. Transformations you sanction so that the various material qualities can become fully manifest. Purport. The Acharya's comment as follows on this verse. Srila Sridhar Swami explains that the term Adyak Purusha, the original Purusha, indicates that Lord Krishna expands himself as Mahavishnu, the first of the three Purushas who take charge of cosmic manifestation. The Lord is Eka Advitiya, one without a second, because there is no one equal to the Lord or different from him. No one is completely equal to the Supreme Godhead, and yet because all the living entities are expansions of the potency of the Godhead, no one is qualitatively different from him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu nicely explains this inconceivable situation by stating that the Absolute Truth and the living beings are qualitatively one, but quantitatively different. The Absolute Truth, the Absolute, possesses infinite spiritual consciousness, whereas the living beings possess infinitesimal consciousness. Infinitesimal consciousness, which is subject to being covered by illusion. I repeat this again. The Absolute possesses infinite spiritual consciousness, whereas the living beings possess infinitesimal consciousness, which is subject to being covered by illusion. Should be no surprise that we sometimes become covered by illusion. Srila Jiva Goswami, commenting on the term Adyak Purusha, quotes from the Satvata Tantra, Vishnostu Trini Rupani. There are three forms of Vishnu for cosmic manifestation, etc. Srila Jiva Goswami also quotes a statement of the Lord from Shruti, Purvam Evaham Ihasam. In the beginning, I alone existed in this world. This statement describes the form of the Lord called the Purusha Avatara, who exists before the cosmic manifestation. Srila Jiva Goswami also quotes the following Shruti mantra, Tat Purushasya Purushatvam, which means, such constitutes the Lord's status as Purusha. Actually, Lord Krishna is the essence of the Purusha incarnation because he is Turiya, as described in the present verse. Jiva Goswami explains the term Turiya, literally the fourth, by quoting Sridhar Swami's commentary to the Bhagavatam verse 11:15-16. Virat hiranyagarbhascha karanam chetuparadaya ishasyat yat tribir hinam turiyam tadvidur buddhaha. The Lord's universal form, his Hiranyagarbha form, and the primeval causal manifestation of material nature are all relative conceptions. But because the Lord himself is not covered by these three, intelligent authorities call him the fourth. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, the word Turiya indicates that the Lord is the fourth member of the quadruple expansion of Godhead called the Chatur Vyuha. In other words, Lord Krishna is Vasudeva. Lord Krishna is Svadrik. That is, he alone can perceive himself perfectly, because he is infinite spiritual existence, infinitely pure. He is Hetu, the cause of everything, and yet he is Ahetu, without cause. Therefore he is Isha, the supreme controller. The last two lines of this verse are of special philosophical significance. Why is the Lord perceived differently by different persons, although he is one? A partial explanation is given here. By the agency of Maya, the Lord's external potency, material nature is in a constant state of transformation, vikara. In one sense, then, material nature is unreal, asat. But because God is the supreme reality, and because he is present within all things, and all things are his potency, material objects and energies possess a degree of reality. Therefore, some people see one aspect of material energy and think this is reality, while other people see a different aspect of material energy and think, no, that is reality. Being conditioned souls, we are covered by different configurations of material nature, and thus we describe the Supreme Truth or the Supreme Lord in terms of our corrupted vision. Yet even the covering qualities of material nature, such as our conditioned intelligence, mind, and senses, are real, being the potency of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, through all things, we can perceive in a more or less subjective way the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is why the present verse states, pratiyase, you are perceived. Furthermore, without the manifestation of material nature's covering qualities, the creation could not fulfill its purpose, namely, to allow the conditioned souls to make their best attempt to enjoy without God. So that they will finally understand the futility of such an illusory notion. What a purport. What a purport. Text 39. O Almighty One, just as the sun, though hidden by a cloud, illuminates the cloud, and all other visible forms as well, so you, although hidden by the material qualities, remain self-luminous, and thus reveal all those qualities, along with the living entities who possess them. Purport. Here Lord Shiva further clarifies the idea expressed in the final two lines of the previous verse. The analogy of the clouds and the sun is appropriate. With its energy, the sun creates clouds which cover our vision of the sun. Yet it is the sun that allows us to see the clouds and all other things as well. Similarly, the Lord expands his illusory potency and thus prevents us from directly seeing him. Yet it is God alone who reveals to us his covering potency, namely the material world. And thus the Lord is Atma Pradipa, self-luminous. It is the reality of his existence that makes all things visible. Text 40. Their intelligence bewildered by your Maya, fully attached to children, wife, home, and so on. Persons immersed in the ocean of material misery sometimes rise to the surface and sometimes sink down. Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami explains that rising in the ocean of misery indicates elevation to higher species, such as demigods, and that being submerged refers to degradation to lower species, even to immobile forms of life, such as trees. As stated in the Vayu Purana, Viparya yascha bhavati brahmatva stavarat vayo. The living being rotates between the position of Brahma and that of an unmoving creature. Srila Jiva Goswami points out that Shiva, having glorified the Lord, now pursues his original intention of securing the Lord's grace for Banasura. Thus, in this and the following 4 verses, Lord Shiva instructs Bana on his actual position in relation to the Lord. Lord Shiva's appeal to the Lord for compassion toward Bana appears in text 45. We're on text 41 now. Text 42. That mortal who rejects you, his true self, dearmost friend and Lord, for the sake of sense objects, whose nature is just the opposite, refuses nectar and instead consumes poison. Purport. The person described above is pitiable because he rejects that which is actually dear, the Lord, and accepts that which is not dear in his ungodly, temporary sense gratification, which leads to suffering and bewilderment. Text 43. I, Lord Brahma, the other demigods, and the pure-minded sages have all surrendered wholeheartedly unto you, our dearmost self and Lord. 44. Let us worship you, the Supreme Lord, to be freed from material life. You are the maintainer of the universe and the cause of its creation and demise. Equipoised and perfectly at peace, you are the true friend, self, and worshipable Lord. You are one without a second, the shelter of all the worlds and all souls. Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami states that the Lord is a true friend because he sets one's proper intelligence into motion if one desires to know the truth about God and the soul. Srila Jiva Goswami and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti both emphasize that the term Bhava Pavargaya indicates the highest liberation of pure love of Godhead, characterized by unalloyed devotional service unto the Lord. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti also explains that the Supreme Lord is Summum, perfectly objective and balanced, whereas other living beings, having an incomplete grasp of reality, cannot be perfectly objective. Those who surrender unto the Lord also become fully objective by taking shelter of His supreme consciousness. Text 45. This Banasura is my dear and faithful follower, and I have awarded him freedom from fear. Therefore, my Lord, please grant him your mercy, just as you showed mercy to Prahlad, the Lord of the demons. Purport. Lord Shiva feels inclined to help Banasura because the demon showed great devotion to Lord Shiva when he provided musical accompaniment for Shiva's Tandava dance. Another reason, it's like having 1,000 mridungas, 500 mridungas playing all at once. You can dance pretty nice forever. Another reason Bana is the object of Lord Shiva's favor is that he is descendant of the great devotees, Prahlad and Bali. 46. The Supreme Lord said, "My dear Lord, for your pleasure, we must certainly do what you have requested of us. I fully agree with your conclusion." Purport. We should not think it strange that the Supreme Lord, Krishna, here addresses Lord Shiva as Bhagavan, Lord. All living beings are part and parcel of the Lord, qualitatively one with Him, and Lord Shiva is an especially powerful, pure entity who possesses many of the Supreme Lord's qualities. Just as a father is happy to share his riches with a beloved son, so the Supreme Lord happily invests pure living beings with some of his potency and opulence. And just as a father proudly and happily observes the good qualities of his children, the Lord is most happy to glorify the pure living beings who are powerful in Krishna consciousness. Thus the Supreme Lord is pleased to glorify Lord Shiva by addressing him as Bhagavan. Text 47. I will not kill this demonic son of Vairochani, for I gave Prahlad Maharaj the benediction that I would not kill any of his descendants. It was to subdue Banasura's false pride that I severed his arms, and I slew his mighty army because it had become a burden upon the earth. 49. This demon, who still has 4 arms, will be immune to old age and death, and he will serve as one of your principal attendants. Thus, he will have nothing to fear on any account. Text 50. Thus attaining freedom from fear, Banasura offered obeisances to Lord Krishna by touching his head to the ground. Bana then seated Aniruddha and his bride on their chariot and brought them before the Lord. Text 51. At the front of the party, Lord Krishna then placed Aniruddha and his bride, both beautifully adorned with fine clothes and ornaments, and surrounded them with a full military division. Thus Lord Krishna took his leave of Lord Shiva and departed. Text 52. The Lord then entered his capital. The city was lavishly decorated with flags and victory arches, and its avenues and crossways were all sprinkled with water. As conch shells, anakas, dundabi drums sounded, the Lord's relatives and brahmanas and the general populace all came forward to greet him respectfully. 53. Whoever rises early in the morning, by the way, I have to rise early in the morning. Whoever rises early in the morning and remembers Lord Krishna's victory in his battle with Lord Shiva will never experience defeat. Shall I say that again? Just in case you missed it. Whoever rises early in the morning and remembers Lord Krishna's victory in this battle with Lord Shiva will never experience defeat. Thus end the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 63rd chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Krishna Fights Banasura. Haribol! Haribol, Lord Shiva! ki jai. Lord Krishna ki jai. Aniruddha ki jai. Lord Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. I just can't help but say this, and that is that those purports were so deep and well written and authoritative that I can't think of a better way to glorify Prabhupada than to do something like that, to show, how great Prabhupada is. Because, the spiritual master is analyzed according to the quality of his disciples. So, anyway, we offer our humble obeisances to Vedananda Das Goswami Maharaj, to Gopi Puranadana Prabhu, and His Grace Draveda Prabhu for compiling these wonderful purports and completing our Srila Prabhupada's life work. I mean, I don't know about you, but I just hear Prabhupada screaming at us when we read these purports, Okay, I'll start us off, because you're not going to get off the hook. But I'm going to start us off. I was really impressed by how the mind was described in this one purport. Equal to the fire and air and this and that, so many things. And the mind it's unconquerable. It's unfathomably strong. And therefore, but as soon as we surrender to Krishna, our mind becomes subdued. So rather than fight with it, which is definitely stronger than we are, we should point it in the right direction. That's what surrender means. That's what I got from it. Surrender means to point it in the right direction, so that it can think of Krishna and go to Krishna. And it's no light thing, because as we described, as it was described, it's life after life after life, and the mind stays with you all that time. That's why it's so powerful, because it's been with you as long as you've been in the material world. And all the impressions that have come into it, the mind, which is like the hard drive, seems to be able to, of course, now we have different capacities of storage in our hard drives, But the mind is like the sky. It can just accommodate as much as you can put into it. And lifetimes and lifetimes, who knows how many lifetimes. And all the sensual perceptions, mental perceptions, they're all there in the mind. Ready to just, like a spool, just ready to unwind into the next life. Yeah. And there we are in our next life. It's like a slinky, going down the stairs, right? You remember? When we were kids, a slinky goes, the mind's going from one body to another. And it's just a figment. It's just asat. It's not actually, it's real, but it's temporary. Whatever it seems like it is, and however much it's got you by the neck, and won't let you go, and causing you, it will go. And therefore the secret, the first thing, is to just don't respond to it. Don't chase after it. Don't run after it. And it'll go. Just like an itch, it will go. Therefore, controlling the mind is very important and not as difficult as it seems, because Krishna is there, just like the child, the little child. There's a bully on the block, and every time he goes out of the door of his front door of his house, some bully comes and beats up on him. And then one day his father and him go out the door together. He's got his father's hand. He looks at the bully and he goes, come on, come on. Because he knows the father is there, and if he tries anything, his father will get on the kid's case. Okay, now, I have kind of like an announcement to make. I have to leave here at 4 o'clock in the morning, which means I have to get up no later than 3, maybe earlier, before we leave. And I have to drive 400 miles to a doctor's office and get these heavy injections into my hips. I don't even know what that's going to be like. And then we have to drive all the way back down here. So I'm making a decision right here on the spot, and I'm asking for all of your understanding, because I made a vow to do this every night, and very, very seldom have I not. Even with broken arm or whatever, I've always continued. But I think that tomorrow I should take one night off after driving 8 hours and going to a doctor and having a procedure and all these things. What do you think? Everybody here with me is nodding their heads like I'm right. So and I know that all of you are out there right, but I'm really determined not to let you down, actually, because I know that many of you, as do I, derive some tremendous strength from these readings and from hearing the Bhagavatam like this and discussing. So I'm gonna end early tonight and go to bed very early, so that I can, pull it off tomorrow, what I have to do. So if I beg apologies for hogging the show tonight. I've done all the reading and all the talking, and normally I encourage everyone to speak up and give their realizations and discussions, especially because you're here. But I'm going to close the curtain tonight on our reading, and I'll see you on Thursday night. Today's Tuesday, so we'll skip one day only, and the next night we'll be there with you, right here in Wisteria College at 6 o'clock. I'd say on the dot, but I'm not Vaisheshika Prabhu. Vaisheshika Prabhu is on the dot, whatever, and if you're not, he just keeps on going, it doesn't make any difference. He trains everybody like that. So if you're listening, forgive your best friend for not being on time every time. Hare Krishna. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. The chastisement of Banasura ki jai. Lord Shiva ki jai. Lord Sri Krishna ki jai. Gaur Premanandi, Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hare Bol. See you Thursday night at 6 o'clock for sure. Hare Krishna. Thank you.